Welcome back to the Keep It Tottenham podcast. I am the token bird. Who are you?
I'm about to sneeze. I have got, seriously, it's building up.
That's what she said.
That's what, yeah, exactly.
Hey, here's a bit of music. That's nice. You done?
Yes, thanks.
Okay.
Hello.
Since the last podcast, there have been 4 Spurs games, 2 losses, 1 draw, 1 win.
Everybody out. Bring a pitchfork and throw them onto the floor and stab them till they stop moving. That's the only solution.
You've also had food poisoning, and the dog has learned that he can eat snow. Is there a connection?
Yeah, the gods aren't happy. That's what that is. The gods aren't happy. I should just add, for anybody who is disappointed, I'm still with us. It was very mild food poisoning. And if you want greater detail, then we have to do that on like a separate pay-per-view channel.
I don't think anybody wants details. No, they don't want details on that. So what we're talking about?
Okay. What we're talking about is something that's going to stun. See, he's clocked it. He's clocked it.
The dog snorting in the background.
It is going to stun people. This is. I wrote a very lengthy piece this week, for which I apologise. The Athletic still haven't rung.
Oh,
that's a shame. And it's bizarre because I went through a significant period of time as a Spurs blogger, being chastised and abused, and generally set upon by thick people who believe I wasn't a real fan, because I was very capable of dissecting, telling the difference between the regime and the team, and I could smell something had died in a drawer somewhere.
Nice.
And as ever, I was on point and I was right in every single respect, and everybody else was wrong.
Right. Is there currently some dead in a drawer?
No. And this is the thing. So we went through this one state of affairs whereby he's not a very nice person. He's not one of the hurrah club, go team and all that jazz. To now, I'm actually, because and this isn't, like I say, I make no apology because I have no control over this. My brain is so big. My quality of thought, critical thought, is so extraordinary. I have no control over any of this.
So this explain the shape of your head.
Yeah, we don't need to go into all that. But the point being is that, and I've got to stop saying the point being because I've started to pick that up, and that's a horrible phrase. The situation is, the thing is that I'm very defensive over the criticism that Mourinho's getting. And again, it's the same class of people whose opinions are formed using a very narrow field of skill sets. And
or social media information in inverted commas.
Well, you see, that's a massive thing. And if we start at the beginning, then really it's the internet that's broken all of this. Because I came up with this phrase a while ago, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago, it doesn't matter, of people have forgotten how to watch football matches. Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a great phrase. It's like, well, yeah, actually, you've got a point because, you know, and once you, through all the jigs and the reels, you get down to it, the what do you call it, the platform that everything is through now, by which we digest all of this stuff, the internet, is so fast that
vast or fast.
Well, it's both, depending on how bad your pronunciation is. But it's so fast and so vast that people screaming has become the normality. Has become the everyday reality. There is no, if you like, safe space for people who want to think a bit. And I'm not talking about absolute pompous twits, you know, and not having a dig at anybody, but yards and yards of innermost thoughts I'm talking about people who are able to sort of just take a breath. And I've been guilty of it. I'm guilty of it in every part of my life. I lose my temper in a nanosecond. I lose things. There's a million faults with me. So I'm absolutely part of the problem. So perhaps that's how I can sign up. I can say I can spot another
problem
shoplifter because I'm a shoplifter. I can spot another person who swears because I swear. And so, but everything is consumed so fast and burped up so readily that there's very little thought, and the thought process is that it just isn't fair because common sense and intelligence doesn't get a fair shout. And so, like you say, we have Twitter, and I would say look, we have social media, but social media actually is a misnomer because it is specifically Twitter. That is the problem. So you've got people who go, "Get him out of my club." And the whole point with these individuals, and there's thousands of them, there's a bottomless pit of them, is that none of it requires any substantiation.
No, you can just spout off.
So you got half a dozen headlines, and this is football. I'm talking about you and the way that you earn whatever you earn. And I frankly don't know how you sleep at night, but you grab half a dozen of these valueless vox pops. Get him out of my club. For sake, oh no, on my knees. And all this could all be emanating from 10 accounts run by that blog. I don't know. But where you get this thing, you go, right, here we go. Here's a group of angry people. This is what the public, the paying public, are saying about this player or that manager or this game. And like I say, most of the time they're continuously wrong. What are you doing?
Oh. I was reaching across for a piece of paper,
oh, right.
So I can.
Well, sorry, but they did take me by surprise. So what I'm saying is that this is we're living in an age where there's just damaged people taking a swing the whole time, and so the opinions that are formed aren't great. That's really helpful when I keep talking. So make a note of what time this is because we have to edit this out because you've totally not listened to me.
I have listened to you, but
Okay.
I don't know how to follow up after that sort of a...
Well, say to me, what's the problem? Give me specifics. Why are fans going for Mourinho? Yeah.
What are they all so unhappy about? And why are they wrong?
Okay, two spot on questions.
Thank you very much.
I'll let you know when you're not spot on.
Cheers.
The problem with them being wrong is the fact that people are lifting those dumb opinions, which is like we won't get bogged down in the whole COVID thing and this, that, and the other. But are you going to use experts, or are you just going to ask drunk people coming out of a pub? Okay, so. This is asking drunk people coming out of a pub. Mm-hmm. And what they're upset about is...
What pubs?
Yeah. They're all those buildings saying, tenancy for sale, apply here. They're those buildings. But the reason they're wrong, and by the reason they're discontent, more to the point, is because they're not enjoying the football. Mm. Now, believe it or not, one of the things I was accused of and found guilty of, because I didn't contest it, was failure to wear the ride enjoyment badge under Pochettino.
Yes.
And so, although we lost the Champions League final, we must remember how
dreadful game,
awful game. And incidentally, let's just throw this in here, because everything is context until we get to the final whistle on this. Most of Pochettino's football in the last 2 years was abysmal. It was really like watching a man on hunger strike because of the situation with the transfers. It was all downhill. Every day was the same. So let's just put that out there to just let the revisionists know that this is the line that we're not crossing.
Sure.
So I didn't have any ride enjoyment because the fact that we were so bloody miserable in the final, the fact that we'd staggered there on like this starvation diet with players who were psychologically wiped out, hoping for the good times to somehow miraculously come back while Christian Eriksen was playing at 60% because he didn't want to get injured, which is perfectly reasonable. Don't hate the guy. And these people, the Hurrah Club, and I'll change their name to something derogatory every 3 weeks so they don't have a badge to hide behind. The Hurrah Club, they say, oh, but Lucas Moura. Oh. And if you go on Reddit, for example, which is a massive platform, I think it's doubled in size since I first looked at it a couple of years ago. It's got like 100,000 subscribers. Most of whom are millennials, many of whom, far too many of which, are people that live in the States. Hello, our colonial cousins, I'm pointing at you. So if you're not shaving every day and you've got a funny accent, this is about you. And that clip of Moura scoring those comeback goals, that resurfaces every few weeks. Different guys, somebody will put a different background to it, to put a video effect, but that is like the holy grail. That's like the thing you keep on pulling out. It's like the little old lady with pictures of her first cat. It just won't go away.
And so what is it about Mourinho that you think is worth defending?
Okay. First of all, it's the Sherlock Holmes thing. So if we remove the impossible, we're left with the probable. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we have a guy who, despite any twisted, weirdo introductions... So that means we don't listen to shouty people who are drunks coming out of pubs, but we just look at the black and white of the Wikipedia page. Okay, I'm
not sure Wikipedia is the place to go.
No, he is the José Mourinho. Apart from everything else, very few people know he's currently the president of Zaire at the moment. But the point being, but the thing with I'm talking about is the honours section, because wind or rain, nobody edits that particularly. And if we just look at those honours, we have a man of substance, an authoritative football man.
Yeah, somebody who's won stuff.
That's up for debate. So you can say, yeah, but he's a dinosaur. Well, I'm sorry, and this is going to sound terribly unreasonable, but you're a drunk coming out of a pub. He won 3 bits of silverware at Manchester United, where he crashed and burned.
Yeah.
So, and he's fallen out with players. Good, because most footballers aren't very nice and aren't very bright. So if you want to clutch at all these bizarre straws and construct all these weird things about this guy, that's fine, but do it away from me and other people who like to think normally.
To tell us the truth.
The truth is that there are several phases to a manager's introduction and existence in a football club. And the first phase we've completed, which is to assess, well, what have we got? Who's here? What's this made of?
Who's in the squad?
How does it exhibit itself? What am I looking at? Mm-hmm. So he's found amongst these narcissistic psychopaths, these fine fellows of footballers.
Yeah.
We've got somebody who isn't very bright, probably likes balloons and whistles and all this business, who can't be bothered to train to the standards required by a manager that's won absolutely everything on the planet. But he's got a very deep philosophical thing in him about different brands of chocolate bar. Right?
Would this be Mr. Ali by any chance?
So this guy is a waste of space. Mm-hmm. And let's go back to the phase thing. So the phase 1 is assessing. Mm-hmm. Looking at the beasts, looking at the thing, making up your mind where you are. The second is then introducing your methodology. Note the use of a word that actually relates to something in the real world, not philosophy, because we're not anyway. We're dealing with in the 21st century the equivalent of grade A racehorses. So whilst it's something, if we catch it young enough, we can make it great. Mm-hmm. We cannot turn a potato into diamonds. All right. So these are young lads. Yeah.
Yeah.
Big beats on, Louis Vuitton, attention span of a gnat.
Yeah.
Right. So we then see who can adapt, we can affect.
Who understands the system?
Who can get it?
The Mourinho way.
And within that phase 2, there's then a little parting of the ways, very gentle at this stage, where we just push Dele out to one side and say to him, well, the door remains open if you're capable of exhibiting willingness to learn. then you can always come back and train with the boys. And then we see where the flaws are, and part of phase 2 is the introduction of what was missing, because it would be glaringly obvious to a child that we never placed Moussa Dembele, for example, and there were certain parts of the team which, like, we needed a striker, and obviously we still do, and we'll come on to that. So this is all in phase 2, and then phase 3.
Where are we in phase 2 at the moment then?
We're at phase
halfway through?
No, we're at phase 2 where we've got a team which is our best team, which we've showed when we've played in Europe and we've played in the Cup. Our best 11, if you like.
Yeah.
And the people that understand the mythology. The mythology.
How to speak English.
How to speak English without reading it. Those people that get the methodology and understand what the coach wants. And we're now seeing that we're still short of a few players. So the emphasis at all times is on the squad. And there's a very simple reason for this. Because when we're looking at things, we go with the proven stuff first. All right? So just because Dele Alli's had some sensational little flicks and tricks along the way, once upon a time when he was... What was the line when he joined us? He was only 18 or something.
5.
He's 24 now, and he still, once in a blue moon, does something magical. Whereas José Mourinho, I'm not a religious person, and it's not like I trust in the Bible or anything. I don't trust in anything, but I trust in him based upon his CV. So I take that.
He's delivered.
He's delivered. He's rock solid. He is not a clueless delivery driver for a online business, right? Who leaves your parcel up on somebody else's roof, okay?
Right.
So and doesn't have
or
great,
to get snowed on your step.
doesn't have great English or whatever the problem might be. But the situation there is that we take him for granted. So again, we've already done the dismissing of the dinosaur thing and the dismissing of the losing the dressing room thing, and we stick with what we know. And don't forget, we've had one of the most fascinating insights into a manager in my lifetime, and I mean any manager, any club, with the Amazon documentary.
Yeah. And that episode of the Netflix
that thing as well.
Docuseries,
The character of Mourinho, and people are very quick to throw this, because if you look at these highlight reels of him and he goes, respect, and it's fair to say I'm the special one. He's been niggled and jibed by the media his entire career because he isn't a cretin.
No.
And so, I mean, does anybody remember? This is a brilliant example, actually. Ian Holloway's press conferences.
Oh, gosh.
Nobody used to say a bad word about Ian Holloway. And he was, for me, Mr. Blackpool. We've been to Blackpool. It's a toilet. It's the only place in the last 30 years I've seen white dog poo on the streets.
We did go on a January, as I recall.
It doesn't matter. It's all the same.
I don't know why.
But the point is that Ian Holloway, who nobody said anything bad against, he used to do card tricks and raconteuring for an hour and a half after games. It was like going to see Ken Dodd. You were thinking of ways to get out. So, whereas Mourinho won't tolerate being spoken to like some intern. And if you look at the state of the press...
I'm going to tell you, if you've asked me that question before, you can go and copy and paste my previous answer.
Yeah, exactly. So, Mourinho comes in for this flack that he's some sort of dark arts monster and can't be trusted and all this jazz. And it's not just hugely unfair, but it's hugely not based on anything that's particularly tangible.
Yeah. So we're in phase 2.
Yeah.
And we're coming up to a January transfer window. Does that play any part in phase 2?
That should be the catalyst for phase 3. And there will be some people listening thinking, oh my God, this guy used to talk sense. And now he's so hell-bent on defending his little fanboy Mourinho ball routine that he's now inventing this system that we have to go through. And this is the guy who used to have no time for systems, no time for myths, no time for any nonsense. But now that idiot blogger has become the people that he used to despise. But I'll explain it to you and then
You're going to have to, because it was a bit cryptic.
No, it's not cryptic. It's not. No, well, you might have lost you, but
your
but
explanation of it is you've just lost me.
Don't forget the top 5% are listening to this.
No, okay.
All right, not some token bird. So we're in the cusp of phase 3, whereby it's done a little bit of shuffle, a little bit of look, a little bit of bringing in, and now we have the second wave, the second task when it comes to the transfers of bringing in the additional missing pieces. Because a football team is...
Can that be done in January?
I don't know.
Okay.
But I will go on to how it could be done. Because I don't throw stones. So he's then looking for who he can bring in. Because do you know what coaching a football team is all about? It's a constant process of refinement.
Right.
And this is why Pochettino got stale, because there was no churn on the squad. That's a broader conversation, but this is what Mourinho is up against. He cannot sit there in January and say, I am very happy with this squad.
No.
Because he isn't very happy.
No.
We're not very happy. Nobody is happy. And I understand that, but what I won't tolerate, which is extremely miserly of me, is people throwing stones and having a pop at him and calling him names and this, that and the other, based on nothing, and nothing that can be substantiated. Because that is the path where he said, well, look, okay, let me tell you what's wrong with Mourinho. He stinks. He smells. I don't like him. You're a petulant 4-year-old throwing your lollipop out of the buggy. That's the quality of that argument. So phase 3, he's now thinking to himself, right, Vicinius hasn't worked. Definitely hasn't worked. Can't get a game. Don't need any inside information for that one. Gedson Fernandes. These were points for later on. I've got a list of these useless skeletons here. Oh, yeah, and by the way, I don't know...
You might as well jump ahead.
Yeah, so while we
You're on phase 3, whatever that is.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't mock, because it's just going to come to a beautiful little thing for you in a minute. And you go, oh, I see now, I'm sorry. But don't worry, I'm not here to collect apologies.
Don't worry, you won't get one.
So phase 3 is that he then assembles his squad, which he takes forward. And once phase 3 is completed, you'll be pleased to hear that's the end of the phases, because this is what happens when a new manager takes over an old squad. Okay?
Are you not then into a consolidation phase?
No, because that sounds like something after marriage guidance, which incidentally, if you've
No,
got the number. But the point I'm making is that the further adjustments need to be made to the squad.
Yeah,
agreed. And then, Mr. Levy, you don't just stand there with your hands on your hips and say, oh, right, well, we'll just wait for everybody to come home for time and tea and medals. You then keep the refining process going.
Yeah.
And such elements to that process, for what my opinion, for what it's worth, which bear in mind, I am an expert in the field.
Yeah.
Okay, and not a drunk coming out of a pub.
Well,
Is to bring
been known to be both.
Oliver Skipp back from Norwich City.
Skippy.
And so tell me, you're an expert in the field. You're certainly outstanding in the field, like the farmer. So what's Skipp been doing at Norwich then? You're a Tottenham fan.
He has been absolutely wowing them, and they would like him to stay.
Yeah, and they're top of the table. And what do we know about the Championship? It's a horrible, nasty, physical mess that goes on forever.
Difficult to shine.
It's like some weird drug experience that never ends because you've put too many mushrooms in your tea.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But do you know what I mean? It's that class of hell. And he has them at the top of the table, the Norwich City fans, who, I hate to say I have some knowledge of the workings of that football club, aren't the brightest pennies in the box. They have worked out that this guy's good stuff.
Yeah.
This is a historic moment for Spurs as well, because this is the first in my lifetime Tottenham loan deal that's ever worked. Because he's gone there.
We used to loan out Kane.
Yeah, if you were going to go through that, that's another hour on the show.
Oh God, no. Okay, that's not.
Yeah, but he was kept on being thrown out because Sherwood and the rest of the half-wits didn't know what to do with him.
No.
Didn't learn anything at Millwall. Didn't learn anything at Leicester City or Stoke or wherever the hell he was. So anyway, got this phase thing. So, and then we say there's going to be onward process of refinement, because that's what managers, coaches do. So you don't suddenly wake up 3 years later after an event and say, oh my God, Mr. Sissoko's died. Shit, that was 3 years ago. What should we do, everybody? You know, like that scene in the All or Nothing. Now, bear in mind when that was filmed. And they straight faces, all of them. Hitchin, I hate it. In his Marks and Spencer's or TK Maxx, Bib and Tucker. Hitchin, Levy. Well, I suppose we need a striker then. Dear God. Really, please. So, how does Mourinho then go into this thing where he gets a team that can go forward and
win stuff?
Precisely, leave the phasing thing that this crackpot blogger has invented, because it makes no sense. Everything I've just said doesn't make a jot of sense. It's all covering for this dirty little rubbish Portuguese nasty who stinks. Right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. So we got to this thing where he's going to bring in some players. How's he supposed to do that? COVID up to our ears, no money, no fans, doom, gloom. Well, let's look at the wage bill.
Here we go.
This is a free gift. We've got Danny Rose. Yeah, that's right. £60,000 a week.
When was the last time we saw him?
Well, coming out of a police station after he wrapped his car around what do they call it, a reservation or something.
Oh dear.
Dele Alli, finger tricking his way, £100,000 a week. Gareth Bale, who today, just 5 minutes ago, has been announced has been out for a few weeks.
Yeah, calf.
250,000. So that gives us 410 grand on the back of this cigarette packet, plus Gedson Fernandes, who everybody has accepted because they get the message eventually, even the daftest of people can't buy a game. And this Carlos Vicinius guy can't buy a game. I make that £500,000 a week going out the door, going up in flames, call it what you will, but that's £500,000. It's £1 million. That's millions, Rodney. That's a ton of money which is sitting idle. Get on the phone, Gareth Bale, we've got the receipt. Can I speak to the customer services, please?
I still want to hold on to Bale.
Yeah, well, I think you should just get yourself another poster.
And I don't even care if that's emotional. I'm saying it. I want to hold on to Bale.
Well, do you know something?
And actually,
at least you say that.
I still think Bale might have even a little bit of commercial worth. But the others, out.
What commercial worth?
I don't care. I'm just making it up as I go along.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Rose
I'm glad you
Ali
said that.
And all the rest of it, but I'm holding on to Bale.
Yeah, I'd also like to be a fire engine. But the point... Well,
you're quite big and you're quite red.
Yeah.
We won't mention any hoses.
That'll be noted. And a hose that you can't get off the truck. But this is a ton of money going out the door. You're a mess.
I'm just laughing.
You're not laughing at the dog.
Dog's just
it's nothing to do with the dog.
It's
nothing to do with the dog. You're sick.
What?
Well, anyway, look, tons of money there.
Yeah.
Sitting there doing nothing.
Tottenham are wasting some money.
Absolutely, and let's just touch on something here again, because I've mentioned it a few times in the blog, but I actually thought I touched a little bit of gold. He's getting his phone to quote himself. I thought I touched on.
Gone straight to camera.
Yeah. Don't worry about all that. Where's the thing gone?
Can you remember how your phone works? It's just dad is doing the dad finger thing.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get the brick phone out. Then we'll see who's talking in Chinese. So.
Open Safari. That's what it was on. Dear
anyway,
me.
the point was that the debt. Oh, there we go. The debt that we're up against, and let's not disappear down the COVID hole. I keep on saying it every time we discuss the subject. COVID is not going away anytime soon. Anybody who thinks there's going to be meaningful numbers of fans into football stadiums for a long time is kidding themselves.
Shame.
So. The point I wanted to make about that is that's, well, I can't remember, was it 3 million a week or 3 million a month? Let's say it's a month to be on the generous side.
I thought it was per game.
There you go. Yeah, so 3 million quid missing off of the forecast that Daniel Levy took to the banks and to Rothschild and to whoever at the Bank of England. Okay, with all these.
A lot of beer and hot dogs.
That's a lot of beer and hot dogs. And the real thing is that I've touched on this before, as I say. I don't know much about insurance because it's dull, and I tend to avoid things that are dull. But, well, certain exceptions.
Thanks.
But you could get insurance for coronavirus. It's a product that Wimbledon, the Lawn Tennis Association, our pals down in Wimbers, they bought it.
Against any kind of
our biggest sponsor for the last
pandemic.
10 years. And this wasn't new. This wasn't an arson attack like the Archway Steel thing that happened on a dark, stormy night that nobody could have predicted, although I did predict that because the hate was pressurising up so much. But the COVID thing, we'd had the precursor with the SARS thing. And it's just because it didn't land in Enfield or on Oxford Street, people just, well, you know, it's these crazy Asians, it's happening to them, it's nothing to do with us, never going to come over here. But there was a product, there was an insurance product for that. And you have stuff insured. And so you take out a loan or whatever it is, but you build this thing, this spaceship with a football pitch in the middle of it for £1 billion. And it was underinsured. It wasn't sufficiently insured. And I'm the only person.
Did any football club anywhere in the world have insurance against a pandemic like the Lawn Tennis Association?
I'd have to look into it. Or
any other sport.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Or was it just some very, very clever people who?
Well, let's just keep
like
this
plink plonk tennis.
Well, let's just keep this simple, okay? The biggest sports on the planet, right? Football,
yeah,
golf, tennis, and probably horse racing.
Yeah.
In terms of money, so anybody, badminton or trampoline jumping or anything else like that,
football.
You'll get lost. It's all tiny tin pot. But those are the biggest global sports. So the fact that Wimbledon, who, to the best of my knowledge, and I could be doing a horrible disservice, are only open 6 weeks a year or something.
I think it's a bit more complicated.
It probably has a little more depth to it than that. But they had this insurance, and it was a product. And this is a big company, if you like. I'm sure they're Wimbledon Lawn Tennis Association PLC or something. This is a business that you wouldn't sort of say, yeah, you know, it's like Disney Corporation.
I think they've had it for decades as well.
Yeah. They've been paying, and it wasn't cheap. It was something. I think the premium was something like 1 point something million.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about comparative things when it comes to money, I've just told you that Tottenham are doing £500,000 down the wazoo, just as an incidental. This is nothing to do with the sticks and stones of the business. This is a running cost. This is like the consumables. This is like your laser paper.
Levy needs to put his hand in his pocket.
Well, I think there's two things. One is that we can't
and replace the waste.
Exactly. He can't just sit there and say, well, the reason we bought in José is because he's an extremely accomplished manager. Mourinho, and this is where we come back to the phase thing to give you that whole tie-in, okay, so we can all sleep tonight, is that if you're questioning, if you're niggling that Mourinho should just come in and go like some thing that claps 3 times, I don't know, like an Aladdin type thing or whatever, and make it good, I hate to break it to you, but you need to grow up a little bit because this is where the adults are talking. Mm-hmm. This isn't playtime, and now, you know, Jurgen Klopp didn't do very much, and then he won the European Cup and a Premier League title after 5 years. And he made alterations.
But he had support.
What support do you want? Mourinho's been brought in.
No, I mean,
he's on twice the money that
Pochettino. Klopp was given time.
Yeah, time and tools.
And yeah, that's what I mean by support is the club brought in the players he needed.
Absolutely. And I don't recall, I mean, and I said this in the blog, I'm not a Liverpool fan, so I pick up certain bits and pieces, but I don't recall Klopp out-trending every 3 minutes.
No.
And it's this situation that Liverpool have been absolutely masterful. And everybody knows I've got a nice word to say about that place. But they have been masterful, what they've done there. It's been sensational. They've brought in a decent manager who had a pedigree.
Yeah.
Oh, that can't work. He'll lose the dressing room. He's German. I bet he doesn't even speak English. None of this nonsense, none of this made-up stuff. Just a man with pedigree who we give control to, who makes minor adjustments, goes through a few little phases of getting it right, yeah, and then his team march on and they win everything and they look fabulous. And they didn't knock down Anfield.
No.
Because you don't do it like that.
No.
And that's another conversation I refuse to entertain having with anybody, because now we're in the situation of situations where this underinsured spaceship with a football pitch in the middle was thrust upon us. We have the cart before the horse.
Quite.
So we've got all this debt. There's nobody going in the Spurs shop. There's nobody buying shirts with Bale on the back.
Not now.
Tottenham are possibly, and you can say, oh, well, this guy's leaving a very bad ride. I mean, who could have predicted the COVID epidemic? Well, I didn't say this. I'm just simply passing the information on to you. The insurers did, because they didn't sell one policy to Wimbledon Tennis Club. That didn't happen. I'll do some research. I'll find out who else bought a policy from somebody. Yeah. But the irony, it sticks in my craw that our biggest sponsor for the last decade is this global AIA.
An insurance company.
Mega. You could not make it up.
Well, you could.
It's like the place burns down. It's all right, £1 billion. Probably be able to bung a bit on. Yeah, well, the thing is, we didn't fully... I mean, we were insured for water damage if there was a leak. But not actually asked. No, so the fire, it's a bit, we've got nothing.
So where do we go from here?
Well, I would say down the pub, but they're all shut. More context, because I will kill you all with context.
Well, context is our friend.
This week, and this is the other thing, I was thinking, well, is everybody else getting an easy ride? Because all I see is Spurs fans turning into cannibals, eating each other.
Well, I can see people having a go at Chelsea after their recent loss.
So Chelsea...
But if you actually look at the top 8 of the table, it's blooming close. And it's not going to... And there's some really weird results going on.
That's the right one. There's weird results, which means the bookmakers are making lots of money. Bookmakers, I've never seen them so excitable. This is like Viagra to them. Because you can never tell what's going to happen.
Do they need it if they're already excited?
I wouldn't know. But they are constantly changing the odds on everything. I've never known a season like it. Now, I'm getting updates from bookies these days, so it's quite handy. But the market shifts. And so you've got Arteta, favourite to be relegated. The odds are better on him to be relegated than they are for Arsenal to be in the top 4.
And he brings the kids in and they beat Chelsea 3-1 and it just turns it on its head. It's just, there's some really strange stuff going on.
So, from the BBC, Chris Sutton... who I'll give you £1 if you can name who he ever played for. Probably Plymouth or something, I don't know.
Us, probably.
Yeah, warns that things could turn ugly for Frank after the Arsenal loss. So they're on at Frank, who's admittedly spent a lot of money, but he's on a massive rebuild.
Quite. Massive
rebuild. If he does anything other than top 4 this season again, then he should be applauded, because he started literally from scratch. And we all know the division... the inherent division that destabilises a football club when they bring in too many new players. And he's brought in quite...
You mean divisiveness?
Yeah, that's the word. Brendan Rodgers, I don't do a very good Northern Irish accent, but he'd talk about personality of a huge club after drawing with Manchester United. Now, he always does this when they lose.
Yeah.
He talks about the integrity of his boys and all this business.
Yeah.
And it's quite cool, because it's a really good way of making the blame evaporate. Because even if they lost 5-0, he says you couldn't fault their hearts. He does this sort of thing where he has a Scottish accent. That happens to him. And so this is a second draw in a row for both those managers. So nobody's having a good time of it. So you can't look at Leicester, you can't look at Chelsea. The only people who are still sailing on pretty sweetly, although they drew as well last week or whatever, was Liverpool.
Yeah.
Who gave their manager 5 years. Now, when Pochettino was in charge, so we finished the whole phase thing, you've got that, and then we're looking at Klopp. When Pochettino was in charge, even after 4.5 years, people were still trying to sell me that we were building something. Do you remember all that guano that we were thrown at us? Yeah? Oh, yeah, youngest squad in the... What does that mean? Might as well say, got the tallest squad. got the smiliest squad, the smartest shoes in. So we had all that young manager, hungry. Blah, blah, blah. He didn't get any support, so it all went down the toilet. It was so easy to predict. And the same people, and I bet you, I'd like to see a Venn diagram of this. And there's some really bad transfer rumours going around at the moment. Really bad. Ericsson to come back to Tottenham.
Yeah, not.
Now, Ericsson.
Do we need an Ericsson type player though?
Yeah, definitely. Just like we need a Modric type player, we need a Carrick type player.
Yeah.
We need players that
Creative midfield.
Lots of players.
I love what Højbjerg does, but he's not a creative.
Well, he's a because he's a defensive midfielder. What you're really saying is that you'd wish Tanguy Ndombele could have an operation on his hips.
I wish he could do 90 minutes.
He's got two matching hips for a start, opposed to one that he's borrowed from somebody. Have a PE box, and his problem is that he does some wonderful stuff, but not enough of it. And he hasn't played 90 minutes since we played Chelsea in the Carabao Cup last September.
Why?
I think he just can't maintain fitness. And I did joke to a pal of mine, Neil, if you're listening, that
what's he doing?
Can I just
Going
finish
home
this?
and eating a whole box of quality stuff?
I don't know or care. He's a grown-up. He's 24. Just get on with it. He's not a stranger. He's played football before, at the previous clubs,
and at the can't get him up to 90 minutes.
And if I can finish, will be revealed at previous clubs. His coaches bemoaned the fact that he couldn't stay fit. But as I said to my mate Neil, the guy, when he's walking down the street and there's nothing wrong with him, looks like he's just stepped out of a helicopter crash. He walks funny. Now, I'm not holding that against him or making any nasty stereotypical remarks, but he does walk with a weird sort of saunter. And I'm just saying that when he plays, you just go, ugh, and the ball does this sort of ping-pong thing off his toes, and he threads through this amazing pass. So I don't have any problems with the guy, but I just want 90 minutes out of him, not 60.
Yeah. But, a creative midfielder who can play a whole game would be super.
So the conclusion is that fans need to grasp the pathway to success, and it just does feel like a lot of people don't understand how to watch a football game, and they are taking their lead from drunk people coming out of the pub on social media. I mean, I had an incident in the last game. Somebody said, "Oh, Davies, shocking, dreadful, diabolical." I just looked at the in-game stats. He hadn't put a foot wrong. It wasn't an outstanding game, and this is the other thing. I think people like every single player to get the ball, dribble past four men, and then put a cross into the box. Well, no, I think people like those little magical moments rather than the grander plan.
Well, this is what I've been saying, that it's as if it's more difficult to understand what a player is doing when they don't have a ball than when they do. And that shows that some people are finding it rather difficult to understand what it is that Mourinho is asking of the players when we haven't got the ball.
Okay, just before we go, because we're both on the wane, because this isn't constantly announcing winners of prizes. You know what we're doing here. Mourinho has been branded as a liar or a ne'er-do-well. Let's use less precise language by some of the intellectuals in our fan base after his post-match comments about his instruction he gave the team. Because Mourinho stands by the fact every time that we sit back, the brains trust come out, amongst us and tell us, well, no, he's a bus parker. He was born a bus parker. He's going to die a bus parker. Well, let's see how that actually reflects on what happened. So, and this isn't like, oh yeah, I know what he's going to do. He's going to pull out stats that prove that, flipping Ben Davies was amazing.
Yeah.
These are the substitutions that Mourinho made. 63rd minute, he took off a defender and brought on Bergwijn. 70th minute, he took off Ndombele, who we know has got two hips, one of which belongs to somebody else, and brought on Sissoko.
Yeah.
So and then on the 84th minute, he took off Sonny, who we know is tired because he's had to play every game because we don't have any striker to swap him out with. We can't bring on Dele Alli because Dele Alli isn't up to it. And he brought on Lamela, who's another attacking player.
Yeah.
So he brought on two, and let's say, err on the side of caution,
2.5.
2.5 attacking players in the last phase of the game.
Quite. And
people are questioning whether Mourinho was parking the bus. That's because parking the bus is a rubbish phrase. People should stop using it and understand what this guy's trying to do.
I agree. We play Fulham next. Get your crystal balls out.
Jingle jangle. Is that Brentford? Is Brentford next year or something?
Tomorrow we're playing Fulham, darling.
Oh, right, okay. We're not playing Brentford tonight then, squeezing it in. It's definitely after Fulham.
When are we playing Brentford?
I don't know.
We're not playing Brentford.
Yeah, we're on the cup.
Brentford. What cup?
This is embarrassing.
Do you mean the Carabao Cup?
Yeah.
We're playing Marine.
No, you're on drugs.
What?
We've played... Who did we go through to? There's 4 teams left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carabao Cup. We play Marine in Liverpool.
This is going to be a very embarrassing bit of broadcasting.
Oh, yeah, Brentford. Tuesday the 5th.
You are sad. Sad.
And lonely.
That's desperate, that is.
When do we play Marine?
Who cares?
Good point. I'll be taking this out anyway.
Yeah, edit.
Oi, oi, oi.
Yeah. So, Fulham.
But tomorrow we play Fulham.
Fulham. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. A reader on the blog, I can't remember who it was, that's genuine, has given Mourinho 3 games to turn it around. I reckon José, right now, can you guess what he's doing?
What he's doing right now?
Yeah, he's looking for the Imodium. He's read that. And he's preparing for the worst.
I take it back. It's the FA Cup, Marine, and that's on the 10th. So I apologies.
Don't apologise to me. Apologise to the 8 people listening.
I have just apologised to the 7.5 people listening.
Right.
You haven't told us what we're going to do against Fulham.
Oh, I'm spellbound. I'm in a state of inertia because I didn't know that Jose Mourinho has been given 3 games by some nameless oik who we've never heard of. Spurs fan 8889P30. 3 games. Interestingly enough, and this is tedious, see what I did there? Ladbrokes, who I get emails from mostly, haven't given a price on things going wrong from Mourinho yet. Yeah. Well, the thing is that the Arteta situation is, they're in a world of pain, absolute freefall, and the chances are, God knows the Chelsea victory, but they look in banging trouble. Chelsea, they spent a lot of money, and that's the other thing. Mourinho didn't spend very much money, and also I think some bookmakers are not entirely disingenuous in the way they operate. And they realised that Spurs are hemorrhaging money. And let's go back to that again, because people forget these things, but they're hugely important. £500,000 going out the door at Spurs. Yeah. No money coming in. No money coming in at all. All the money coming in for the broadcasting is being recycled and fending off the obligation to the bank. So there's no money being made. Let's just clear that up. But there's money hemorrhaging outside the club. Mourinho must be thinking to himself, with Bale back in the physio room, surely I don't have to wait. I don't have to call Levy and say, have you got time for a coffee? Surely he's going to call me and we'll get that boy back to Spain. Because the amount of money, it's just insane. He's only with us till the summer.
Oh, he'll probably stay till the summer.
We've heard your caveat on Bale. I don't care. I want a teddy bear.
Bale.
That's your thing.
Teddy bear Bale.
Yeah. But so, how can you say with a straight face, well, I think, rest his whatever's wrong and get him back next few weeks, get a few games under him.
Sometimes as a fan, you've got to be allowed a little bit of emotion, but you just have to admit that it's emotion and not rationality.
Well, do you know something? I respect that. I dismiss it completely, but I respect you acknowledging that you're wishing for a bike for Christmas, opposed to actually basing on whether your parents can afford a bike. Oh, sorry, there's no Father Christmas. That's it. That's how sick and demented I am. Just throw it.
Matt.
There you go. It's all gone.
No.
Yeah, and if you do find an old man with a beard in your room in the middle of the night, don't hesitate, just phone the police.
In the meantime,
keep it Tottenham.
Believe it or not, we'd really appreciate your feedback. Positive, of course. Give us a thumbs up, 5 stars, write a review, all the rest of it, whatever platform you're on. Really appreciate it. Helps to get the podcast moving up through those podcasty, charty type things and spread the word. Cheers, guys. Keep it Tottenham.